to conduct a modern governor color revolution, which was a precursor to everything that happened here. So he's going on the attack because he understands treasonous activities are about to be, but the U.S. Justice Department will be there moving to dismiss. They had the power and they used it to try to destroy Donald Trump. Now this greasy criminal is about to be on the receiving end of his own crimes. There's no question about it. He and, of course, Andrew Weissman. Just remind you, he's under oath against mob murders, covering up here. He keeps going on MSNBC and bragging about the Enron case. I guess he doesn't realize that people understand case where unanimously overturned by the six, Andrew Weissman and Weissman. Of course he does. Many is for the legal fees to defend himself in the upcoming process. And Weissman these guys are the architects honored, because if he weren't effective on speaking out for freedom and speaking out in defense of the Constitution and speaking out for the American form of government, he would never have been targeted. To their agenda of basically suspending the Constitution and moving us to a completely authoritarian society.
And I love the fact that they admit in 11 years, this is just one thing we know about, that they found nothing. I mean, they can indict a ham sandwich because there's so many laws, but I mean, I am a Boy Scout. So, I mean, you know, thank God, but they still tried to indict me a bunch. They put Owen, my co-host, your co-host, in prison.
Well, Alex, I don't know if you're a Boy Scout. I've been out drinking with you, but when it comes to criminal activity, you're certainly a Boy Scout.
Well, no. I think of a Boy Scout financially, politically. Yeah, I mean, there's no. I mean, it's well known that I've been a tomcat in my day as well, but.
Well, look, you're a fun guy to be with. This is why we're good friends and have been and will be. But the point here, of course, is that they have now had all the power and they've abused it. Now they don't have the power, and everything, as the Bible says, will be revealed. Everything about their criminal activities will be revealed. So I understand the tactic of going on the attack. They can go file all the lawsuits they want, but they won't prevail. The progenitors, the key architects of the effort to hijack the American government, the key progenitors of the greatest dirty trick in American political history, in which the full authority of the U.S. government and the extraordinary capabilities of our intelligence agencies were used, utilizing what they knew was falsified evidence, the so-called Steele dossier, and the false claim that the Russians hacked the DNC, for which there is no evidence whatsoever, was used to try to undo and unseat a duly elected president.
So, Roger, we only got 5 more minutes. I want you back. I'll try to get for a full hour, but you can only do a little bit, Roger. I want you to finish whatever you want to say, but real quick. Is it fair to say the entire globalist system is in total collapse? I don't see how they come back from this so far.
Well, collapse would be too strong, but they are certainly in retreat. I mean, you can never underestimate the people who tried to kill Donald Trump twice will certainly try to kill him again. They already tried twice. So nothing is beyond them, whether it is a fake pandemic or whether it is another assassination attempt. But cornered rats, as you know, are extremely dangerous. And in Norm Eisen and Andrew Weissman, you have 2 cornered rats.
StoneZone.com, StoneZone.com. Do 5 more minutes with us, my compadre. And then the deep dive on the deep state's illegal war against yours truly. I'm Alex Jones, your faithful servant. Stay with us. You don't get this information without supporting journalists and independent media that are delivering. The Rebel delivers it. Tucker Carlson delivers it. Elon Musk has the biggest megaphone. He supported Trump. He got in there. InfoWars needs your support. All right? We are winning. We are dominating. We're reaching over 100 million views a day just on Excellent The Onion. After confirmation hearings, the chairman of the committee, Senator Grassley, revealed not just Crossfire Hurricane, the giant Justice Department CIA operation against Trump and myself and others that went from 2016 right through until now, but also an operation called Arctic Frost.
Now I'd like to call the committee's attention to something I'm going to have been made public before. The second email, February 24th, 2022.
There's probably no entity in the government that is more of an entrenched power center of unelected bureaucrats with less accountability to their cronies all over the world through a swampy network of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and cutouts, including potentially some very troubling elements of focusing on things like regime change and destabilizing foreign countries. But this is not about America's interests. Donald Trump is courageously restoring democracy. Article 2 of the executive branch vests all power by the Constitution. Article 2 of the Constitution vests all power of the executive branch in a president. It's known as the vesting clause. It says the executive power shall be vested in a president, singular, not in the bureaucracy, not in unelected, lifetime tenured career civil servants. Americans voted for one man, Donald J. Trump. They didn't vote for a single bureaucrat at USAID. They voted for Donald Trump to make government accountable to the taxpayer, to make government accountable for them. If the Democrats are saying, as they are, that President Trump cannot implement his agenda at USAID, that Donald Trump cannot fire recalcitrant bureaucrats, what they are saying, what Democrats are saying, the American people can elect a man, in this case, our President Donald Trump, to reform the government according to the will of the people. This is a battle between the will of the people through their President Donald Trump and the will of an unelected federal bureaucracy. So we and President Trump are on the side of democracy. There's probably no entity in the government that is more of an entrenched power center of unelected bureaucrats with funnel money to their cronies all over the world through a swampy network of NGOs, non-government, very troubling elements of focusing on things like regime change and destabilizing foreign countries. But this is not about America's interests. Donald Trump is courageously restoring democracy. Article 2 of the executive branch vests all power by the Constitution. Sorry, Article 2 of the Constitution vests all power of the executive branch in a president. It's known as the vesting clause. It says the executive power shall be vested in a president, singular, not in the bureaucracy, not in unelected, lifetime tenured career civil servants. Americans voted for one man, Donald J. Trump. They didn't vote for a single bureaucrat at USAID. They voted for Donald Trump to make government accountable to the taxpayer, to make government accountable for them. If the Democrats are saying, as they are, that President Trump cannot implement his agenda at USAID, that Donald Trump cannot fire recalcitrant bureaucrats, what they are saying, what Democrats are saying, is they oppose democracy itself. They oppose the idea that the American people can elect a man, in this case, our President Donald Trump, to reform the government according to the will of the people. This is a battle between the will of the people through their president,
Stephen,
Donald Trump, and the will of an unelected side of democracy.
I like it. It was strong. It came off very sincere. I like it.
Criminals from nations all over this world. And so El Salvador President Trump is not messing around, and he's no longer going to allow America to be a dumping ground for illegal criminals from nations all over this world. And so El Salvador has not just agreed to the repatriation of their own citizens, but also illegal criminals from other nations who will then be sent to their prisons. Venezuela as well has agreed to repatriation flights, and Colombia also agreed to cooperate with the repatriation of illegal Colombian nationals that we have found in the interior of our country. And I can also confirm that today, the first flight from the United States to Guantanamo Bay with illegal migrants are underway. President Trump is not messing around, and he's no longer going to allow America to
Say Letitia James is taking on Donald Trump again. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's see what we're looking at here. Okay. It looks like it's going down. Let's see what Letitia James got going on. Say New York Democrats are looking to the Attorney General to take action as the president barrels to his first weeks in office. New York State Attorney General Letitia James has joined one lawsuit blocking President Trump's birthrights citizenship ban, is leading another challenge. Excuse me. Another challenging his wide-ranging funding freeze, and warns she too if Trump demands local assistance and federal immigration raids, and that's just since his inauguration on January 20th. James, who won a major lawsuit against Trump in 2024, is widely viewed in New York politics as a formidable figure whose next move is always top of mind for politicians. Labor leaders and operatives Now they're eyeing a state's leading lawyer as she's positioned herself to defend New York's interest in the Trump administration. Her perch, a job that comes with nearly entirely self-driven headlines, has made James a talk about contender for even more prominent roles like governor, U.S. senator, or even mayor of New York. Her actions in Trump's first week and a recent interview with Politico suggests James is willing to assume a leading role. They also serve to illustrate a glaring contrast between herself and other local elected officials, like New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who have been more muted in their responses to Trump. James acting as a consistent and visible bulwark against the president would be a relief to many in her party who look to her as a sort of resistance hero who challenged Trump in court when others didn't. Others see her as occupying a prime position to use her history with Trump as a way to negotiate wins for New York. It's her moment to own, said Assembly Member Brian Cunningham, a Democrat from James' home borough of Brooklyn. Quote, and on opportunity for the Attorney General to show, and an opportunity for the Attorney General to show the power of the office to protect the citizen from any unfair federal attack, end quote. James announced on January 23rd that she reached a $7.4 billion settlement with a pharmaceutical company for its role fueling opioid addiction. It didn't have anything to do with the White House, and the message was clear that the other work of the office will continue even in the Trump era. But before James left the briefing room, she read a scathing prepared statement signed by 10 other Democratic prosecutors warning they would sue if Trump tries to get local law enforcement to assist in federal immigration raids. James ad libbed another line, quote, we are not individuals who are the face of resistance, end quote, she said. Quote, we are willing to work with the office of President Trump. But when it comes to any violation of the United States Constitution, end quote, she added, or the rights of vulnerable and marginalized populations, including but not limited to the immigrant community, we will enforce the law, end quote. She emphasized her final words to underscore that if she believes Trump breaks the law, she will be there. James, who was elected Attorney General halfway through Trump's first term, may not like the resistance leader designation, but it fits. Votive candles featuring her saintly presence and coffee mugs bearing her face and a simple message to Trump. Quote, fuck around and find out, end quote, are sold online. She must decide just how aggressive she'll be at a time when other Democrats nationally are trying to regain their footing after bruising losses last year. This all comes as Trump and Republicans are pressuring everyone to back off, framed by vows of revenge against enemies. Among New York Democrats in a position to act as anti-Trump figureheads, James is unique. She sued the Trump administration dozens of times in his first term, and according to her count, won 80% of the time. Then she sued Trump, his family members, and his company in 2022, accusing him of fraudulent financial practices. James won the case, but Trump is fighting the $500 million judgment. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg took on Trump too, but lacks the Attorney General's political seasoning. Governor Katie Hochul doesn't have the same fraud backstory with Trump and is playing nice for infrastructure funding. And Adams is actually trying to align with him. Even in the state Senate, Chuck Schumer, Rep. Hakeem Jeffries, and Rep. Alexandria Cortez, it's James who seemed to have captured Trump's attention the most. There is, of course, a potential downside to that. Trump once again has the power of the federal government behind her. He has said James should be arrested and punished, end quote. In days after taking office, shared an op-ed on Truth Social arguing he should prosecute James for election interference. Some supporters have been far more harsh. Quote, I will kill you if you even dare to permanently steal Donald Trump's assets, end quote. A Western New York man texted James last year as reported in the Buffalo News. He was caught and pleaded guilty to sending the death threats. Quote, yeah, my life has been threatened, end quote. James told Politico, quote, but at the end of the day, you can't be paralyzed by fear, end quote. Aside from her battles with Trump, James has also bolstered her reputation as someone who takes on bullies by getting into a high profile legal battle with former Governor Andrew Cuomo and taking down the National Rifle Association. And while Adams broke with her party and some of the Trump's former top aides to say the president should not be called a fascist, James wasn't nearly as shy about applying the label, telling Politico in October that he possesses, quote, characteristics that can be best described as fascist, end quote. Trump has made his case against her into a Meet Letitia James page on his website, arguing she unfairly sued him, citing her previous remarks while running for attorney general about, quote, removing this president from office. James doesn't regret her words. Quote, the reality is that was a campaign, end quote, she said. Quote, when you walk into the office, into this office, you've got to leave your political affiliation at the door. James has won the argument on legal grounds. Trump's repeated efforts to dismiss the case alleging political motivations were rejected, and the judge found him guilty of fraud. But Trump may have won the political war. Voters did not find his conduct disqualifying, and James' case against him served as a pillar to his argument that the elites targeted him. Quote, I don't think anyone did more to help elect Donald Trump president of the United States than Alvin Bragg and Tish James. Representative Mike Lawler, Republican from New York, said on Fox News in January. James' case against Trump certainly didn't stop his comeback, but some in the business community have suggested the president's desire to forego paying out the judgment could be used as leverage, said Katie Wild, a James supporter who lobbies for New York's corporate giants as president of the Partnership for New York City. Quote, she's in a negotiating position, Wild told Politico, referring to what she's heard in the corporate world. Quote, if it comes to an opportunity to make a grand bargain on behalf of our city and state, she's in a good position to lead that effort. If in fact Washington carries through on some of our worst fears, like defunding Sanctuary City, it remains unclear if James will pursue such a path. But one question about her future does have an answer. She isn't running for mayor of New York City. A robust recruitment effort to get her to make a city hall run took shape in September and October, with everyone from labor union operatives to members of Hochul's inner circle pressing James to consider. Adams had just been indicted, and Cuomo was and still is considered a run for mayor. James was seen as a trusted, popular alternative to the two scandal scarred men. In her most recent interview with Politico, James made it clear she's staying put. Quote, people ask me, I was humbled by it and honored by that. But right now, I put my head down and I'm focusing. End quote, she said. Oh, that sounds great. So asked about a run for governor in 2026, she said that's the year she'll be running for re-election as attorney general. That probably won't put an end to the speculation. Though James briefly challenged Hochul ahead of the 2022 Democratic primary before dropping her campaign months later. Whether or not a redo of that scenario comes to pass, James' political future relies on her continuing to focus on Trump. Quote, the role of being the David versus Goliath will be viewed all around the country, end quote, said former New York Governor David Peterson. Patterson. Quote, that could lead to perhaps an elevation for her in a future Democratic administration somewhere, or even a nomination for something greater than what she's doing now. The flip side of that coin are the threats, and they are never far from mine. A couple Sunday after Trump's victory, she pulled up to the altar of Cornerstone Baptist Church in Brooklyn with Reverend Al Sharpton to be anointed with to be anointed with oil. Lord, quote, Lord, let no harm or danger come around her. Let the threats and the idle words of those become ruin, said Senior Pastor Lawrence Aker III in a video posted by Sharpton. Quote, Lord, we thank you, and we just take your word that no weapon formed against her shall prosper. Okay, great story, but we're just not going to buy it at this point in time. We're not going to buy that. Okay. You mess around and find out if you try to come after President Trump and she already got the warning from one of his attorneys that they will sue her for crimes, conspiracy against American rights. And hold on, let me get the screen back up here. But it'd be rightfully so. Hold on, I got too many screens up. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so thanks everybody for joining us today as we get back diving deep into the political science globally and domestically. And so we were just reading over some of the information from Politico, and it sounds like a very inspiring report for Letitia James, but I gotta stand with President Trump and say that was election interference. Her role and what they did in coordination with all of the other lawfares against President Trump, that the people had to bear the financial costs and actually witness that crap and devalue our justice system and convert us definitely into a banana republic. And so absolutely she ran on she campaigned on get Trump. I'm gonna get Trump, big and powerful men. And it's like it's a constant attack on the American men in this country under the former regime. And that was the point, to create disunity, right? To create division, to be anti-family in policy and practice and visual and thought. It was very satanic. And she was a part and parcel of that operation on the coup d'etat and overthrow of the Constitution. That's exactly what went on. That's exactly what the people seen, and that's exactly what the people experienced. And we suffer injury due to that. And so, President Trump, you have an obligation from the American people. And we spoke volumes. We will not be betrayed. We will not continue to be cool with being betrayed. What do you mean? That judge and this lady and everybody that was involved, we need reform in the judiciary branch and in the justice system. The justice system need to be reformed. It needs to be talking exactly how Kash Patel was just talking at the U.S. Senate nominee confirmation. Well, he's talking about only moving when it is in alignment with Constitution. If it's not constitutionally ordained, we will not be initiating any kind of investigation or prosecution thereof. And so the fact that they was able to move how they was able to move without any checks and balances, without anybody that's defending the American people's will, it was just unbelievable. It brings into question the state of New York, the United Nations in operations throughout the state of New York, and all of the other things that's going on in New York. What is happening in New York? What has happened in New York, in the city of New York, the state of New York, and where people? I just don't, for the life of me, I can't believe that they got this kind of story being published and promoting this encouraging this kind of behavior, inappropriate misconduct, unconstitutional misconduct, professional misconduct, and without relief. You know, these judges can it's just amazing how they can get away with this stuff. And then they govern themselves on the Judicial Tenure Commission. So it's just tough on for the American people and the bureaucratic state that exists. We got to get rid of this stuff. The people need direct control of everything. We the people, we have a right. We are entitled to we're the beneficiaries. The beneficiaries, by definition, they have absolute title. We're the absolute title. And so this stuff is out of control. For them to actually publish that type of article just gave me a headache. What are they talking about? What world were they living on? So you use the power of your office, financed by taxpayer dollars, to go after the people's president. He won a populist vote. What does that tell you? He won it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. So you effectively suing the American people. And then they publish their articles as if this is what's going on. This is absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it got to be brought to an immediate end under this president. You have a responsibility, President Trump. You have a national responsibility to defend the national rights of the American people. And we know it. That's why we voted for you. What are we doing here? They're too comfortable at violating the Constitution as if the Constitution doesn't even exist. We got to shake free of the shackles of the 14th and 15th Amendment. We got to put more pressure on Congress to enact law and order and restore the republic fully. Not just in the executive branch, it got to be restored in the congressional branch of government, and it must be restored in the judiciary branch of government, which they have a job. The judicial officer has a job to uphold the constitutional law. The congressional branch has a divine constitutional obligation to enact the law. The executive branch have a divine obligation to enforce the enacted laws. That only supports the Constitution. Any law that's contrary to the Constitution is notwithstanding. Let's see what we're talking about here.
Ask that you make certain he can't rebuild the platform. That's what matters. That is punishment. That is deterrence. Is there's going to be a law?
So that's Alex Jones, man. He's exposing just more activities of the operatives, the agency that's in operation within our country. And so
and you know,
it's a very interesting time.
You've signed a DNA.
Let's check with Scott Ritter and see.
Yeah, you can never talk about it. Go get the hell out of here. You're done. Go sell fish and chips. Go do something. But you're not going to work in the intelligence community anymore. The CIA is full of people who have stopped serving America. They serve the money. I told you about the guy wearing the Hawaiian shirt and the khakis and the flip-flops sitting in the back corner of the State Department as the meeting takes place. He doesn't serve anybody but a congressman. Congress has said we need to fund this, that, and the other thing and do this, that, and the other. It's all so corrupt. There's not people. They're sitting there going, how do I help America today? What do I do for America? How do I make America safer? What's a real threat out there? These are people that have been soaked into the system. They go into the embassies. They see the congressional delegations come to the embassies. They service them. They service the corruption. And that's what the CIA has become, a servicing of corruption. So yeah, Kelsey's cleaning house. It's a revolution. It's going to happen. I can't wait.
All right. And the executive orders are coming left and right. I'm looking online. I see Trump just signed an executive order requiring Scott Ritter to reveal whether or not he ran out of Diet Coke. Yes or no, Mr. Ritter?
Well, since he is the president of the United States, no, I have Diet Coke. I just put it in the refrigerator. I made a run right before the show, but it's not ice cold. So I bought a couple Monsters to hold me over until then.
All right. Complying with the presidential authority. I love it. Adam Saneh, perhaps, in Lebanon, Beirut. Why did it suddenly become America's business to involve itself in the Middle East when HTS is in charge?
What the hell are you talking about, Adam? It's been our business forever. Name me a year that we haven't been involving ourselves in the business of the Middle East. The Middle East is our business. Most governments wouldn't exist without our permission. I'm sure you know people who are receiving money from the U.S. Embassy. You may not know that they're receiving money from the U.S. Embassy, but come on, what? I don't even understand that question now that HTS is in charge. Who do you think funded HTS? Who do you think empowered HTS? Who do you think made HTS do what they do? Come on, man. We've been doing the Middle East forever. Especially since, when Roosevelt met with King Saud on, in a cruiser off the coast of Saudi Arabia. We cut the deal, the magic deal, oil for security. What do you think security means? It means we own you, we control you, we manipulate you. We've been doing that for years. I'm not happy about it. It gets us in trouble, makes us look stupid. It kills a lot of people. Let's not be naive and believe it suddenly would become interested in the Middle East because of HTS. You're from Lebanon. You've got the largest frickin' American embassy in the region. Why? Because we love you? Get real. It's the largest embassy in the region because we're using it as a base from which we own you and control you and manipulate you and all of your neighbors. Welcome to the Middle East, America's backyard. Now, maybe that'll change. Maybe under Donald Trump will shut down that, because that is literally, I talked about the CIA and I talked about congressional delegations and I talked about all the deals that are cut behind the scenes. What do you think happens in an embassy that large? What do you think happens in an embassy that large? The only reason that it's that large is there's so many things that have to be managed, so much corruption that has to be overseen, that we have to build an embassy. Are all the Lebanese applying for immigration? Do we need consular services? Did we build this large embassy for consular services? So we stack up a first-year foreign service officers and sit there going, hi, my name is Scott Ritter. I'm a first-year foreign service officer. This is my first assignment. I'm in consular services. How can I help you get a visa in the United States of America? I'm here to help. Nope, that's not who's in there. It's full of 10, 15-year CIA people who are undercover in various jobs. Maybe we have to have office space for the non-official cover guys that are in there selling cigarettes, pretending to be something that they're not. Who knows? But the big embassy like that is a red flag. If you're in a country with a big embassy, it doesn't mean America's there because they like you. It means because you are positioned to help America control you. The embassy controls you.
All right. Scott, here's the man whose question you refused to answer earlier, but since it was later issued as an executive order, I assume he got his answer indirectly. John in South Carolina. How are you, sir?
Gentlemen, good afternoon and greetings to your international audience. Scott, I have a question for you which will not require any of your monster drink to answer. Currently, Scott, the U.S. Air Force Rivet Joint Signet Recon aircraft has been deployed to the Baja region. And I want to know, is that a game changer for the U.S. on the war on drugs in the southern bordering region? Thank you, gentlemen, and stay safe.
Is it a game changer?
I don't know. I mean, I don't game changer. What does Rivet Joint do? It's an electronic intelligence gathering aircraft. We use it. Rivet Joints fly often in Europe against the Russian target or Ukraine. They gather, communications. They gather electronic intelligent radar intelligence. It's whatever it's configured to do, whatever sensor package they have put on the Rivet Joint. Rivet Joints can be used to gather intelligence against, in support of ballistic missile tests, telemetry, and things of that nature. So now you're going up against the Mexican cartel. Like, don't imagine that we're collecting intelligence against the cartel's air defense network, because I don't think they have one. Now there's a bunch of air defense service to air missiles out there, batteries not. I don't think they're collecting against telemetry or anything like that. They're collecting against communications, and which means that what's happened is they're probably, I don't want to get too specific, but they probably are collecting against a specific kind of communication device, maybe something that uses digital encryption, and maybe the plane has been equipped not only with the ability to intercept, but maybe it has the rapid ability to decrypt and then transfer intelligence real time to units on the ground trying to hunt. Who knows? Intelligence always has the potential of being a game changer, except it's playing the game. I mean, it's not changing the game, it's just playing the game. You're intercepting communications. This is a game of cat and mouse that goes on all the time between criminal elements and law enforcement. And it's something I would say that with the military involved to the degree they are, look, whether people know it or not, we're at war with Mexico today. The president has declared war on Mexico. He doesn't have to declare war on Mexico, the government, but basically by designating the cartels as terrorist organizations and giving this joint special operations community permission to engage, we're at war. And so we are collecting intelligence right now that identifies targets that will be hit by joint special operations at the time that the commander-in-chief has deemed appropriate. That's what's happening. It's not a game changer, it's just a game.
All right, Crypto something or other was asking, what is a game changer? And I'm pondering that. I wonder if James Spader could possibly clear that up.
Game changers. Changes to the game such that the game can never be played the same way again.
All right, there you go, Crypto. Happy to accommodate you. Let's take one more question and then turn it over to Yelena, who has been dutifully curating live questions coming in on social media while we've been having a gay old time here. That one we already did. Sorry about that. Jeffrey W. in Boise, Idaho, where I once got arrested for doing a hidden camera prank. Hoping to get your take on the sentencing of former New Jersey U.S. Senator Robert Menendez and the FARA allegations. How do you think this will impact you, if at all?
That case isn't going to impact me at all. Menendez was a foreign agent. He actually broke the law. He took money from foreigners to do specific taskings. And a lot of this was bribery. A lot of this was corruption. It's more than just FARA. It's conspiracy to do horrible things when you're an elected official. The FBI, the Department of Justice's FARA allegation to me is because I wrote a goddamn article. I contacted the Russian embassy, said, I want to interview the Russian ambassador. I went to the Russian embassy. I interviewed the Russian ambassador, and I wrote an article about Russophobia. And they said, well, but you published things that the Russian ambassador wrote. That means you're taking direction from the Russian. I said, bullshit. No, it doesn't. You're stupid. Not only are you stupid, but you're interfering where you can't interfere. Freedom of the fucking press. Menendez isn't a journalist. Menendez wasn't exercising his First Amendment rights. I am. Menendez was a fucking criminal. I'm not. So there's the difference, and that's why this won't impact.
All right. So you're saying the two situations are very similar.
That's not.
You know that video. I love that video with what's his name? The psychologist, the famous psychologist, was interviewed by the British announcer. You know what I'm talking about?
No. I mean, I might want
Jordan Peterson. Yeah. There's this hilarious video of this British host. What do they call them? Presenters there, whatever, interviewing him, and over again, he would answer a question, and then she would go, "So what you're saying is," she said completely the opposite of what he said. All right, let's bring in
PR for in the military. I mean, there's all the jokes about what the general meant to say is. Never say that.
I'm gonna have
Lesson
to
number one as a PR person. Never say what the general meant to say.
Right. I'm going to have to dig that up and send it to you. Let's bring in Yelena the Magnificent with the world's most professional-looking microphone setup, and she has questions that have been coming in on social media. I'll leave it to you two, and see you both in a few
Now, does
minutes.
she have an extra large hat, or does she just have a head that's smaller than yours?
I'm going to guess the
That's
latter.
grim.
What do you think? Yeah. It is pretty big.
Hello, Scott. Hello, everyone. I guess I will start from the end, because in the end we got a very interesting question. It's from Panamera to Z on Twitch. As early as 2023, U.S. weapons appeared in the hands of Mexican gangs, including RPGs, explosives, and more. How does the U.S. think it will deal with all of this if Ukraine has to give up this war? Is the U.S. prepared for a new form of terrorism? Thanks.
Well, I don't know. I mean, an RPG isn't a U.S. weapon. It's it's a rocket-propelled grenade derived from a Soviet design. Other people make knockoffs. We don't use it. I'm sure they have some American weapons, and I'm sure, as we talked about in the past, the dangers of us supplying Ukraine with weapons that are then sold to the black market, and they, are bought by the people that need them. And I'm sure the cartels have a whole bunch of money, and I'm sure they're able to buy whatever weaponry they want. So yeah, we're in for a rude awakening. This isn't going to be, they're better armed than some armies are, and they're better trained, better equipped, and they're better motivated, and they have more loyalty and more discipline. It's going to be a different kind of fight. I don't know if we know what we're getting into. One of the things that I'm concerned about is drones. The cartels already cleared the use of FPV drones and grenade dropping drones to be used against border patrol along the border, but they can penetrate the American border. Our air defense is non-existent. And what happens when they start, counter-striking into American cities? Yeah, I'm worried about it. Hopefully the professionals in the Pentagon are worried about it as well and are taking the measures necessary to deal with it.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Because, well, I had a concern that Europe might have faced the same from the Ukrainian side. But okay, let's go to the next question. This comes from Somerville Joan on Rumble. Scott, what is your take of Russia's 32 military bases in the Arctic and their financial help it is receiving to develop natural resources, LNG, in the region for delivery to China?
Well, if those 32 bases are on the soil of Russia, it's none of my business. Russia can do whatever the hell it wants to do on its soil. Why don't we ask ourselves what's my take on the 800 plus military bases the United States has deployed around the world, not on American soil. But what Russia does on its soil is its own business. To put 32 bases in the Arctic implies that the Arctic is an area of strategic interest to them. It's their soil. Who are we to say, well, you can't do that? You can't protect. I mean, the Arctic is a region full of LNG, oil, other mineral resources. As the tundra thaws, there are more exploitation opportunities. And Russia has a strategic partnership with China. It's a sovereign state. So is China. Who the hell am I or any American to say, you can't do that? You can't have a special relationship with China. You mean China's not allowed to invest into Russia and to developing resources that Russia will then send on to China? My take on it, it's none of our damn business. I mean, we should be informed of it, so we're aware of the capacity. But who are we to tell the Russians or the Chinese what to do about things that happen on Russian soil? None of our business.
Thanks a lot. Now the next question comes from Yuko24 on Rumble. With the horrific war crimes that were just uncovered in Kursk, how much longer can Russia hold off on decisivity decapitating Ukraine as a whole? How long can this pacifism go on?
Well, Uko24, I don't know where you're from, and I don't mean to be insulting in any way, but if you think what's happening in Ukraine is pacifism, why don't you go live in Ukraine for a while? There ain't nothing pacifist about what Russia's doing. Russia's pounding the shit out of them, beating them up on a daily basis, slaughtering their troops on the front line. What Russia's not going to do is make a strategic mistake and overreact on an issue that changes the political reality right now. Right now, the United States is done with Ukraine. Europe can't fund it, can't afford it. is giving lip service, but Ukraine's being abandoned. If Russia takes a precipitous action against Ukraine to decapitate the leadership, then Russia creates a new reality that NATO and the United States may be compelled to react to, changing, what's going on. Russia's winning. Russia's not going to do anything that changes that imperative, that changes that trajectory. So no, Russia's not going to move in and decapitate Ukraine. They got the names. When this is over, they're going to arrest the son of a bitches and hold them accountable. If you think Russia's forgotten about this, you don't know anything about the Russians. They are literally the human elephants of the world. They don't forget anything. They don't forget anything. And justice will be had. It's just the way they work. So yeah, don't pretend that the Russians are pacifists or the Russians are weak or they're soft. Russia is fighting a war against Ukraine and the collective West, including the United States. And Russia's winning. And they're not going to do anything to change the trajectory towards victory that they're currently on, especially overreacting to horrific murders in Kursk.
Yeah. Scott, how many questions you are ready to answer? How much time do we have?
I can answer one more last quick question.
Oh, it's hard to choose, but okay, I will ask this one. It's from Krogan52. I agree with the assessment that what is happening in the US government is somewhat a revolution. Is there expectation that the deep states or blob will begin a fight?
That right now is. I mean, again, this is a revolution. Very change. Constitutional issues at stake. But Trump won an election, and he is the executive. And under the Democrats, there was a lot of move towards facilitating the unitary executive theory of governance, meaning that all the power rests with the president. And now Trump is taking that to an extreme. The Democrats don't control the Senate. They don't control the House. They won't have a chance of doing either for at least 2 years. And so they're helpless. They're helpless. What are they going to do? They aren't going to get a majority for anything, for nothing. And I just want to remind the senators and the congressmen that the Supreme Court has said that any official act carried out by the president isn't criminal, can't be charged. He's immune. So tough shit, man. You lost an election. Shouldn't have had your soft coup. Shouldn't have tried to push Biden down our throat. Should have picked somebody better. And when you realize Biden was bad, you shouldn't try to replace him with Kamala, bypassing all Democratic, due diligence and review. And shouldn't have picked Kamala Harris anyway. She's a horrible candidate. You made all the mistakes, and now you're paying the price. And the American people who voted for Donald Trump are supporting this. I don't think there's too many American people that supported Donald Trump are saying, "Oh gosh, Donnie, slow down." Buddy, whoa, on the USAID thing. Pal, need us understand. Who the hell do you think was on the stage with Donald Trump every single way? He voted just this as your failure to govern. So no, we're in the midst of a revolution. Efforts by the in the judicial branch. But I think there's a famous saying, somebody answers none. We're getting down to that point right now. This is a revolution. The deep state is over. It's going to be killed.
All right, there it is. I think that.
Well, everybody